Green box is up. Live counter is ticking up, so we should be live, or very shortly will be. How did I get that blood on my finger?
Oh, well, that's not a great way to open up the stream, huh?
Not much. I
Mm-hmm.
just noticed it on my finger. I'm just like, where did that come from? I
Maybe
didn't
it's the
think I was.
blood on your ancestors' hands trickling down to you.
I didn't think I was bleeding
Uh,
anywhere. Huh.
Now, the real question is, how does it taste?
Like blood.
Yeah, I didn't really know,
Didn't know where I was gonna go with that.
yeah.
I didn't know.
Theoretically, there were a lot of directions you could have gone with that you chose not to. Perhaps for the
And there
best.
was, yep.
So anyway, hello there, everyone. This is a great start to a stream, isn't it?
Absolutely fantastic.
As I said, I just noticed I had blood on a finger, and I don't know why. I've got blood on two fingers.
Maybe one of them's bleeding onto the other.
I don't think so.
Check
Might
your
wanna,
orifices.
It's not much blood. It's just confusing.
You
or
still
get like a
check
napkin or something.
your orifices. Maybe you're like in a
Jose, I
Chinese
don't
web
think this is
novel.
helping.
Fuck it.
I don't think
Fine.
this is helping.
No, it's like a specific. It's a cultural thing that I don't think translates very well.
If I don't answer when you like ask me something, assume that I'm actually bleeding badly and have passed out, and at that point call 999.
Okay, but like, that's very concerning, Mill.
I don't think I'm bleeding badly. I'm not that dumb. I feel like I would notice it. And it's certainly if it's anywhere upper body. I'm wearing a white shirt, so like it would
Okay.
show up. I'm just saying. I have clearly bled somewhere that I don't know.
Now, there's also is it possible that it's not your blood?
That would be strange considering I haven't seen anyone for several days.
You know, we should probably Mill's concerning health possible issue aside. We should probably get started.
Oh yeah, we're talking about the bad and the good tropes today. I know we labeled it as do's and don'ts, but I feel like
Honestly,
logistically,
I was saying to Jack before the stream started, I assume we're just gonna go through the list of queer tropes on TV tropes and pick out the really good ones and the bad ones.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we can have some specific examples as well.
Oh, we'll definitely talk about specific like
I want
prominent
to
examples
just
for some of
bash
them.
gravitation for a while.
Go
What's
for it.
gravitation?
We'll get to it. It is awful.
Gravitation isn't that Dojin, is it?
No, it's an actual, legitimate, quote-unquote, anime/manga series.
Right.
That really kind of, is an example of what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I'll let you guys start up first, because I'm curious where you wanna go with it to start with.
Do you want to go by alphabetical order, Jack, or talk about the one that actually, caused the stream?
I like the idea of like starting with what.
Yeah.
So,
What caused it?
bury your gaze.
Let's start with the everyone's least favorite trope, unless
Yeah,
you're
I
a
really
No,
should have
I-
seen that one coming, huh?
I feel like the all gays are pedophiles one is worse.
It's worse, but it's also less common to a certain extent.
You say
Yeah.
that, but look at what the fucking bigots are doing right now.
Yeah, that's true. But I
Well,
do feel like let's start with what triggered this discussion and this stream being documented in the first place,
Mm-hmm.
or rather scheduled in the first place.
Oh, good. I forgot that would count.
I don't like the sound of that.
That's fine. Go for it. Go for it, Jack. Oh, yeah.
But anyways, Barry Gaze has almost always been kind of a controversial trope, but it's gotten a lot more attention and controversy in the past decade or so, especially following a rash of sapphic characters getting suddenly and unceremoniously killed off in American television in, I believe it was 2015 or 2016.
And then
There
even
were,
more recently, in a very high-profile situation recently.
yep, I believe it was Killing Eve was the show.
Yep.
And then
And that
another
one got a lot of flack, understandably.
yeah, and then another high-profile
Because
one
it's like,
before that.
you'd think we'd know better in 2022.
Nope, not at all.
I blame a good chunk of it on writers just being absolute shit at their job, at least some of them,
Mm-hmm.
and deciding to go, oh, this is angsty, and all good art is
So,
really angsty and
do you know
mean.
what's like really bad about that though?
Yeah,
Is I can understand to a certain extent if they're like want to make it angsty, but the problem is that's not angsty because that was the final scene of the show,
yeah,
which
exactly.
what people are not realizing is that when it's the final scene of the show, it means there's gonna be no more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like
no,
there's
it's just
there's nothing.
unceremonious
It's
death.
angst has the baseline requirement of characters actually talking and or thinking about it at some point in their lives, and that can't happen when it's the series finale of the show.
Yep. On a similar note, Supernatural pulled some similar bullshit a year and a half beforehand, where the minute after Castiel basically comes out as well, not sure if he's gay or bi, but
Bye, because like he
yeah,
did
he
express.
confesses. Yeah, he confesses to Dean, and seconds later, he immediately gets sent to Turbo Hell.
Yeah. So what's freaked up about this
I love
is
that
this is
it's. I
something.
love that it's turbo hell rather than just regular hell.
Yeah,
No,
no,
because like they can get people out of regular hell. The place he gets sent is literally somewhere not even God was able to get people out of.
But it's just like, oh my god, you're queer. You have to go to super hell.
that's basically
Like
what it is, though.
it's like ultra deluxe hell.
Yeah, that's not what it's actually called in the show, but it's fun to just call it stuff like Turbo Hell and
It's what it is. That's
Super
it's not
Hell.
what it's called, but
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's like one of the most egregious extreme cases of barrier gaze I have ever heard of. Like, it is just so over the top, it loops from being offensive to being actually kind of hilarious.
It's still horrifically offensive.
And it's horrifically offensive, but it is also hilarious if you know the context.
Especially because these characters have like known each other for decades by this point.
Like almost a full-on just over a decade, actually. Yeah, because Castiel was introduced 11 seasons earlier.
Yeah, so it's kind of just like there is no excuse for this.
And then,
I mean,
and then the gate.
also Castiel and Dean was like the most popular ship in the entire fandom, so I don't understand why
Yeah,
they
it was
just.
like there's no way that the writers didn't know about it. So it's almost like they were specific. It was specifically an FU to the fandom.
Either that or just one of those ways that like people do queer baiting in just or ridiculous ways. Like, oh yeah, most of our fans ship this, but a few of our fans are like really homophobic, so we're going to cater to those fans instead of the majority of our fan base. Because fuck up the majority of the
Because
fan
that makes sense.
Didn't the queer brother then die like really unceremoniously while the hetero
Oh
brother
yeah,
Yes.
lived
Dean died
happily ever
also
after?
super unceremoniously in the finale.
Yeah.
And Dean was also super queer coded.
Dean was like more similar to what's his face from Persona 4.
Kanji, right? Or
Mm,
Yosuke.
uh,
Which one are you talking about?
he wasn't actively homophobic, but he was very insecure about his own masculinity.
That's probably Kanji then.
Mm.
Because Yosuke was the one who's actively homophobic.
Okay, yeah, because like he was like he banged a lot of women.
Yeah, Dean was a very Casanova-esque, but he also like had a lot of There were a lot of signs that he had an attraction to men.
He just was deeply buried in the closet.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, he winds up
Literally,
dying.
yes, literally buried in the closet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so
Like,
angry that I'm coughing.
yeah, no, barrier gaze is just a really irritating trope. Like one of the deaths in the rash of deaths that happened like mid 2010s that really pissed me off was killing off Sarah Lance on Arrow, which was not a fun one because it was out right the fuck out of nowhere, and
Yeah,
it was
not
so
to.
controversial that the network actually brought her back from the dead
Okay, to be
because
fair, uh, it doesn't really require controversy for a network for a comics book show to bring someone back from the dead.
true.
So it might not have
True.
even been the backlash.
Oh, it was definitely the backlash. They had planned to write her out, and it did not go well.
I'm kind of just like at this point, right? Like the thing about kill. Do you know what gets me about the Killing Eve incident? Is that they should know better right now.
They
Like
should, but
not in the terms of like I'm not speaking in terms of being decent human beings because that is just not possible, right? Like that's asking too much.
mm-hmm.
No, I'm saying they should know better in the sense that they should realize that it's bad optics at this point. Like just from a profitability scale, like if even the big companies are now actively making sure that they're at least somewhat politically correct,
Mm-hmm.
then they should really know to just avoid this nonsense.
There
If
is one
only
example
for
of barrier gaze that kind of subverts it that I actually kind of really like. But
go on.
if you want to, so are you familiar with Black Mirror?
Unfortunately.
So one episode in season 3, San Junipero, has basically two women slowly falling in
Oh
love.
yeah. Okay, yes.
One of them,
That terrifying episode.
that's not that bad. There are much worse episodes of Black Mirror.
It is bad if you like consider some of the logical conclusions of it.
Meh. Uh, anyways, the I believe one of them is terminally ill, but they eventually upload both their minds into the titular San Junipero computer world,
One of them
and
is terminally ill. The other one is already in a vegetative state.
they upload themselves, and while their bodies die, they still live on in the virtual world.
Yeah, the thing I was saying about the logical consequences is one power outage in that server room, and
I'm pretty sure they have tons of backup power sources.
But yeah, I do understand the idea of like that being something of a subversion.
Mm-hmm.
Can I talk about my example now?
Yes,
Attack on
yes.
Yeah.
Titan.
Sorry. Yes. Ripamir. That also pissed me the fuck off.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
oh, right. No, no. I actually know. I know what you're talking about. That was back when I was at least somewhat invested in that awful trash fire of a show.
Mm-hmm. Because Ymir and Krista slash Historia, uh, you know, were certainly implied to be queer together, and then Ymir gets killed off.
Off
And
screen and
Completely
rather
unceremoniously as
unceremoniously.
well.
Yeah.
killed off screen, basically.
Yeah, and implied to be a very brutal manner.
Mm-hmm. And then Historia, gets impregnated. So,
Yeah.
The consent
yay.
is also very dubious in that case.
Very dubious.
Yeah, it's very
Very
muddled.
dubious.
Which is
Which is
not
basically a nice
ideal.
way of saying she definitely didn't consent.
Well, the
Or
implication was that
she
she was a
consented under
lesbian.
duress. Yeah. It's just so
I
fucked up.
don't. Who was the father even?
No fucking
Some
clue.
random nobody. Some
Yeah.
random nobody.
Oh yeah, definitely not consensual then.
Mm-hmm.
It was like some weird bullshit of like, oh, you have to carry on your bloodline, so find someone to knock you up.
Yeah.
So that's not
That
great.
again, that this is in some cases it seems like it's just bad writing, but in cases like that, it seems like a targeted fu
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
basically like it.
That actually segues nicely into another trope that's more than a little offensive: the idea that all lesbians want children.
Oh yeah, that one.
Or this is actually a wider trope. The idea that continuing your bloodline is more important than your orientation and or happiness.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very
That as
common
well.
trope, especially in like fantasy scenarios.
Mm. Something that Brooklyn Nine-Nine actually skewers pretty well.
Mm-hmm. You know what's funny
I
is that like the a lot of
I,
fantasy stories could just like contrive a way to get around that by just like being like, oh yeah, you can have children homosexually, no big deal.
Mm.
yeah, most series nowadays are like, okay, if you think about it for even like a fifth of a second, this is a world where wizards can pull gods out of their asses. It's really not that much of a stretch to be like, oh yeah, you can just like make genetically complete children regardless of your gender.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, say what you will about Rick Riordan's Camp Half-Blood stuff. At least he basically outright says multiple times in across the series that like, yeah, gods can have kids with basically anyone of any gender. That they do not have an issue with that. It's not like they have any.
It's one of those things that is at least is very consistent with the mythology because
They're
uh
gods. Whatever the fuck they want,
in the
basically.
everyone was bi. Like
Yeah,
every member of the
everybody agrees.
pantheon who was either ace or bi. Those were the only two orientations
Basically, yeah.
in the Greek pantheon.
Like there
There
might
were
be
like
one or two outliers, but like the overwhelming majority were like either ace or bi. Yeah.
yeah, there were three arrow ace individuals, and the rest were bi.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, speaking of that, actually, there's also the trope of immort- immortals being more likely to be bisexual than normal people, than non-normal, than non-immortals.
Yeah, how do you guys feel about that?
I mean, on the one hand, like having more time gives someone more opportunity to discover things that they never learned about themselves. So it's
I
like,
will say
hey,
there are places where it can get a little bit concerning. So there's this idea that everyone given enough time can suddenly become bi,
Yeah.
right? And that does have some problematic implications because, like, some people are just only attracted to one gender,
Yeah.
yep,
right? Like, there are some people who are just attracted to men and some people who are just attracted to women, regardless of their own gender.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't change. And like, it is a bit problematic, the idea that it's like, I think flexible is not the word, but I think the idea that everyone can just change their orientation on command is a bit
yeah.
problematic.
Sexuality is more fluid than some people like to imagine, but
But
it's
it's
still
it's
not
not
that fluid.
infinitely fluid. Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like
it's fluid,
you know what
not irrelevant.
traditional sexuality is all
Yeah,
about.
that's like a lot of people writers seem to imply that, like, in the long term sexuality is like completely irrelevant, and that is not true.
Yeah,
It's
no
it may be fluid, but that doesn't mean people don't have leanings one way or the other,
preferences.
or
Yeah.
like they don't have preferences at all.
Mm-hmm.
Now
So
it's
it
one
can be a
thing if
little
it's
bit
like
vague when you go too far in that direction as well.
yeah, it's one thing if you imply like people are more likely than not to be bisexual if they have a longer lifespan, but there are still exceptions to that. That's one implication. But if you go like, oh, if you've been around long enough, you are automatically bisexual. No ifs, ands, or buts. And that's a
Yeah,
lot more.
that's the unfortunate implication that comes up a bit too often in my experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, look, I get it. Experimentation is something that exists, but the thing about experimentation is that not all experiments are successful.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, you can still have it such that like, oh, I tried this out. I still didn't like it. I guess it's not for
Yeah,
me.
that's fine.
Like,
Yeah,
cause
that's
yeah,
completely fine,
I feel
and
I
it
feel
does
like
happen.
I feel like if you've been alive for 1,000 years, you're at least gonna try it just to
You're
see.
gonna try,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
oftentimes you're definitely gonna find that, oh well, actually, I guess not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is fair.
I feel like there aren't enough instances of saying like, yeah, I tried that, wasn't a big fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's the whole that one very problematic meme of, so is spaghetti until it gets wet. That's not
Oh yeah,
funny. That's
uh,
problematic.
your favorite meme is problematic. Deal with it.
I don't think that's a lot of people's favorite meme. I think that it's just like,
It's
it's
dumb.
very
It's a dumb
common.
meme.
Yeah. I mean, yes. Uh, by logical extension, if you put anything under enough pressure, it'll bend. Right? That's the
Mm-hmm.
logical
Oh
conclusion of
great.
that meme.
Some things just break under pressure. They don't bend at all.
Are we transitioning
But
over
yeah.
to the rape tropes?
Oh god. Might as well.
Yeah, we do kind
You
of
know,
have to, as
everyone
horrifying as they are.
honestly, corrective rape is just such an awful thing.
Yeah.
And even
Any,
discussing it makes my skin
yeah,
crawl.
it's incredibly problematic. And I think the reason this one in particular is so problematic is because it's not just a trope, it's something that far too many
Oh,
people believe and attempt in real life.
Yeah.
yeah.
which is just like all sorts of not okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm. Oh, and then there's also the similar related trope of hearing gay people.
Mm.
Yes, that's what I thought we were building up to. Is like, hey, as it turns out, your sexuality is not really a choice
Or gender identity.
or gender identity. Yeah, that's kind of just like
not,
built in.
it's not
It's
illness.
hardwired.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not illness either. Like, I remember the whole DSM making it a mental illness thing, and that still irritates the fuck out of me.
I mean, that's understandable though, because when the DSM, like the early editions of the DSM were essentially like, well, anything that's not in this very narrow category of neurotypical is a mental illness now, I guess.
Oh yeah, that's always fun.
It's definitely not something that's particularly uncommon.
Mm-hmm. Sadly.
Yeah, I'm going through the list of examples for the trope named Rape and Switch, which is,
Charming name.
yeah, God, it happens more often than it should.
Yeah, but most of the examples are oh, never mind. Found it. Oddly enough, most of the examples in that one are straight people being quote unquote turned gay rather than
Yeah.
the other way around.
That is also problematic, right? Just like
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
we should definitely uh, present that as a reminder. Is that like it's not only problematic going one way; it's problematic going in either direction.
Yep.
One of them is one of them is perhaps overrepresented due to bigotry, but that doesn't mean they don't exist and are not problematic at all.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the basic gist of it is maybe don't be a dick about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel quite glad looking at it that I don't, I haven't watched any of these. I don't think.
Yeah, I haven't. I'm not super familiar with the vast majority of these. Oh, there's Riverdale.
Oh no. What
Oh,
did
yes.
Riverdale do?
What didn't Riverdale do?
Is that show super problematic or like
Riverdale is fucking insane, is what it is.
So, do you know what's funny? I have a feeling. So, I should give some context. My mother grew up with Archie comics and passed that on to me. Like, literally, she had a massive collection of older Archie comics, and I inherited them. And in hindsight, yeah, some of those are very problematic.
Yeah,
because there were Archie
Riverdale
comics
is a whole other level.
No. Do you know what Riverdale is probably most similar to? There was an Archie Comics cartoon called Archie's Weird Mysteries or something like that.
Sounds neat.
Which, huh?
Sounds fun.
It was
Sounds
great.
really bizarre.
It was essentially Archie's Bizarre Adventure. This is a Monster of the Week format and everything. And I'm kind of just like, oh god. I don't think it can be weirder than that because they did fight Santa Claus at one point.
Dope. Did they win, or did they get their asses kicked?
It resolved into a very ambiguous situation in which they learned the importance of Christmas spirit or some BS like that.
Damn it. Oh, hey, I found gravitation on this page, too.
Oh god, yeah. Okay. Gravitation is an entirely different discussion, but yes, talk about Riverdale first, and then we'll talk about gravitation.
Okay, so the Riverdale example is an odd one because it's Cheryl basically nearly getting sexually assaulted by a male date and basically coming out as lesbian almost immediately afterwards. Like,
That's
I don't know exactly how long afterwards, but not too long.
That does seem like it's kind of like a more of a borderline case, because usually it's like almost to the.
It's almost the opposite.
Unfortunately, it's the opposite that happens most of the time.
Yeah, no. It's a weird one. Riverdale is weird, though, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah, so on the subject of sexual assault, it's depressing that is a natural segue. You know what else is awful?
What?
The whole double standard of straight versus not straight sexual assault.
Yeah, because
And,
rape by male-on-male rape is usually played for comedy for some fucking reason.
Yes. This is a segue into gravitation, sadly. It was very mainstream. It was basically mainstream yaoi at the time. And one of the sequences in that is the very, like, sort of spunky and so there's the obvious generic aloof protagonist sort of love interest, right? Like the edgy edgelord love interest. And then there's like the super chipper who is essentially that show's version of Yuji, to give you an idea of his personality.
Right.
And he gets gang raped.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, like multiple people, and he's just
Mill,
like...
do you want to slap a good old content warning on this discussion? Because I think we...
We really should have opened with that.
Yeah.
In hindsight.
Yeah. Hindsight's 2020, after all.
I'll definitely be putting in the description of the YouTube video.
Thank you. Yeah, just slap a big old content warning on here.
Yeah, this is trigger warning, people. This is not pleasant conversation.
Nope.
So, yeah. So multiple people sexually assault the Sunshine Child main character, and it's like graphic and it's not even off screen, it's on screen.
Jesus.
And like the immediate aftermath of that is they kind of just shrug it off. Like everyone just kind of laughs it off.
That's fucked.
As if it never even happened. And there's like no even like there's
Look, I know people react differently to trauma, but that's fucking extreme.
Right? It's like, and no, it's not even a trauma thing, because it kind of just never gets brought up again.
Jesus. That's just...
Like, it doesn't even, it has no lasting effects and is not really implied to be traumatic in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, you might want to add death and bigotry in the content warning, Mel.
I was just going to actually change it to a more general sexual assault.
Mm-hmm. Those are not words you ever want to hear, huh?
Yep. I'll shrink that down a little bit to fit everything.
Yep.
Yeah, on a related note to what you were talking about, Fuzzy, there's a classic, depraved, uh,
Well, just
LGBTQ person.
just before we get to that, I would just like to point out that somehow Utena manages to have 3 out of the 4 versions of
Uchina is
Rape and Switch.
awful.
The
It
channel is
is
all over the place. I have not
like
really watched it. I've heard so many varying opinions on it that I don't even know what to think.
Uchina is not okay in many, many ways. Like, that series has some problems. Like, it simultaneously manages to have, like, a great deal of representation and also just awful, awful situations.
Well, that's fun.
Like
And just,
I just wanted to point it out because it's not something I've heard about Utena. I don't think.
no. That's because people are too busy, like, gushing about Utina. And it's one of those things where a lot of the fandom does, unfortunately, just completely ignore or gloss over the myriad problematic elements. Because it really is, like, there's honestly more problematic elements in Utina than there is representation, which is something a lot of the fans don't really want to admit.
Anyway, you were saying, Jack, about the depraved queer person trope.
Just that's a really annoying trope that like the only or one of the only like 1 or 2 queer characters in the series is either a stalker, a rapist, or some other awful, awful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or all of the above.
Yeah, and they're generally like defined by both their queerness and how depraved it makes them. Like you got your like I hate to bring this one up, but like since it's one of the only blights on the series, I kind of have to bring up Yamai from Komi-san.
Yeah.
No,
Like
please,
he is.
bash Komi-san more.
I like the series, but Yamai is like the worst by like a country mile. The worst thing about the series.
So sort of the issue between, or sort of the issue of, you know, making your lesbian character also the yandere.
Yeah, there were so many better ways to handle that idea of like someone obsessively crushing on Komi,
Like not
and
having
they
a
decided to
yandere.
go with yeah, they decided to go with someone who is the only lesbian
I
character who
well,
is
I mean,
explicitly gay.
this is a very bad name for the trope, but it's just what the trope is called. Is the psycho lesbian archetype is sadly one of the more established tropes,
Mm.
right? Like, this is actually there's like there was a period of time in like the late 80s, early 90s where Hollywood was churning out like 5 of those movies a month.
Was it Fatal Attraction or Basic Instinct that had the most famous example of this? I'm pretty sure it was Basic Instinct, but I could be wrong.
No, I think Basic Instinct was more Black Widow praying mantis situation.
No. As in, like the female lead who was also like the killer was bi, and she had a psychotic female lover.
Oh yeah, I was
Basic
talking about
Instinct.
the
Basic
situations
Instinct.
where the yes, that was I think both of those had that premise, which is just depressing.
No, Fatal Attraction was just a psychotic female stalker
Yeah.
who the guy has an affair with her, and she becomes obsessed with him, and
Oh
yada
yeah,
yada
there were like
murder.
several of those movies.
Fatal Attraction is just the most famous one.
Yeah, but in general, that's a trope that sadly comes up way too often.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Comes away too often is played for laughs.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's like the one of the more awkward parts of a lot of these tropes is not only do they happen more than they should, they're not taken seriously by anyone involved,
yeah.
whether it's in universe or out. Right? Like the writers don't take it seriously and the characters don't take it seriously either.
Yeah.
I mean, the one exception is probably the depraved bisexual variation because they're a danger to everyone.
Which again, just there's so many things wrong with that.
Hmm.
Like I can't even like think of a place to start.
You can't? You sure about that?
Well, wait, what are you trying to imply?
Oh, nothing. Nothing at all.
No, I'm serious. Like I actually don't know what you're trying to imply.
Like the implication that the Joker has is both
Oh yeah, no, the Joker absolutely wants to bang Batman.
oh yeah, no, he absolutely wants to bang Batman. That's not even a question.
Honestly, I don't even know if it's a case of bisexual in that case, because the Joker doesn't really show any interest in anyone other than Batman.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he's canonically been in a sexual relationship with Harley Quinn, but
Well, no, he has,
beyond
but
that,
like that, he didn't really initiate that. Is what
mm,
I mean, right?
yeah.
Like that, like always, his relationship with Harley Quinn was like kind of incidental.
Eh, I guess. I do feel like though that Joker is kind of like every time any like sexual or romantic stuff comes up with Joker, it just seems to emphasize how much of an asshole he is.
He did attempt to. He usually didn't doesn't
He doesn't
touch
do sex
Catwoman.
crimes. Yeah.
No, he still doesn't really do sex crimes in general. But no, he usually doesn't mind Catwoman even when she has her on again, off again thing with Batman. But like the moment they were like announcing that they were getting married, he crashed the wedding rehearsal and tried to murder her. I think that was
Well
the
then,
first. Yeah, that was the first time Joker made an actual concerted attempt to kill Catwoman.
interesting.
Is when he learned that she was marrying Batman.
Hmm.
Because it's not like they've not been in a relationship before, and he's targeted people that Batman isn't in a relationship before, but he's never made such a concerted effort against Catwoman specifically as he did when
Mm-hmm.
they were getting married. So make of
Yeah.
that what you will.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's the other big example, Griffith.
Oh God, I don't even want to talk about Berserk. Because
Kind of
like,
have to with all the stuff with Griffith being very heavily implied to have a
no,
very
not it's not just implied. Like he wants to bang guts. He's like
yeah.
just outright.
Yeah, no, he doesn't want to bang guts. He wants to own guts. Like he is horrifically possessive of guts. Like to a horrifying degree.
Yeah, it's not great under any circumstances.
Mm-hmm. There's
So,
also other examples like Dio and Hisoka, but
mm,
Hisoka is another trope, unfortunately, that we'll get into.
you want to just get into it now, or do you want to hold off on it until we get through more examples and why this trope is bad?
I suppose we could get into it now. Yeah.
just before we do you all remember Blade of the Immortal?
Oh yeah, I remember dropping that after the episode with the rapist.
Yeah, the rapist got worse.
Lovely.
How?
Uh, because the bits that we saw, the rapist only raped women. And it was a male rapist, should point out. Uh,
Oh boy.
Apparently later on he gets his arm cut off, and kidnaps a kid, and starts raping him as well.
Oh no.
Yeah, quite glad we dropped that one.
Jesus.
So the thing about Blade of the Immortal, right, was it was very much it wasn't an adaptation of a very old series as well.
Mm.
Series from the 90s, if I recall correctly.
Yes, so 30 years ago,
Oh god, it was
Jesus
30
Christ.
years
in case
ago.
you weren't feeling old enough.
It was 30 years ago. Still feels like 2020. Like when I saw 28 something from 2018, I was like, oh right, so 2 years ago. Wait, 4 years ago. Fuck.
Yeah, the years have blended together, and it's not been fun.
So you know what they say, the years keep coming and they don't stop coming.
I was hoping they'd stop coming with the, fucking pandemic.
No, that just made them come both faster and slower at the same time.
Yeah.
It's
Weird.
weird. Time is weird. But yeah, no. Blade of the Immortal, glad I dropped it.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of Blade of the Immortal, yes, it started in the 90s, but it ran through the entirety of the, like, 2000s
2000s.
and ended in 2012.
Damn.
I don't know how far in this, stuff with, Shira, I think his name was, yeah. But yeah, it's just not good. I mean, that dude was just uncomfortable in general anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, series was weird.
That series also, like, was really high on disposable prostitutes as well.
Yeah.
Also, it's just in general not very good to women.
Mm. In general, just not very
You could
good.
make the argument that it's not really good to any of its characters.
Mm.
True.
But that's, again, it's not really an excuse, is it?
In general, it just wasn't a very good show.
Yeah.
Anyways, there are plenty of other examples of just characters.
So do we want to
being...
talk about Hisoka?
You can talk about Hisoka. I'm not super familiar with Hunter x Hunter, if I'm being honest.
Mel, you want to get started on Hisoka?
Do we have to talk about Hunter x Hunter?
Mel, if we talk about, like, we've talked about enough things that we definitely have to talk about Hunter x Hunter, yes?
Can I point out that the narrative is very much that Hisoka is a villain?
Is he the only example of a character who is bisexual in the series, though?
Yes.
That's not great.
Is he?
Unless you count the implication between Gon and Killua, but they're 12.
They can still be gay at 12.
There is a trans character in the series.
Yeah.
I've heard as much.
That's my point. Like, Togashi is generally pretty good at rep, so...
Yeah, but you cannot deny that Hisoka is a character that exists, and there's like...
Hisoka is a creep, and he is very fight-sexual, and that is very bad when his main interest is
He's
the
not
12-year-old
just fight-sexual, though. He does not express attraction to any of the adult characters that he fights.
That's not true. That's not true.
Not as overtly.
He does with Frollo.
He does, but like it's like not as overtly sexual with Frollo. It's just like the amount that it's sexual with the 12-year-olds is the problem.
Fair.
Like, he's very obviously more attracted to the 12-year-olds.
Like, I'm not trying to defend Hisoka, as I said, but the narrative does make sure to say, look, he's a villain. And not necessarily because of his, appetites, let's say.
Hmm.
which I think is a distinction we should make. It is not a bad thing to have a queer character as a villain. It is only when they're a villain because of their queerness.
He's like also
Or
the
they are the
only.
only queer character, yes.
Yes, yes. Or at least if there are other queer characters, they're not as villainous.
Mm-hmm. And I
But
don't
yeah,
I don't think Hisoka applies there.
I don't know about that. I definitely think he's like.
It doesn't help that it's a fucking shonen manga that started in the 90s. Like, fucking Togashi said that after he finished Yu Yu Hakusho, he wanted to write a fucking manga about an explicitly gay character, and Shonen Jump wouldn't let him.
That's on Shonen Jump.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's a fault of Togashi. Like, here's the thing, right? Here, I do think this is something we should say. The author can have good intentions. That doesn't mean, though, that it necessarily translates well.
Fair.
Just because the author intends for a character to be villainous or sympathetic one way or another does not necessarily mean the execution is all there. And we do have to look at both.
Again, with Hisoka, I feel like the execution is there.
I think the problem is that, like, he's played for comedy too often.
That's fair.
Right? Like,
But
you have to
over
admit
again.
that much.
that is fair. But I think that is also a problem in general with Japan.
Yeah, but we do still have to talk about it. Like, just because
No,
it's, like, not exclusive to Hisoka doesn't mean it's, like, not a problem.
Fair. I'm just, trying to stay balanced on this because I know how you feel about Hunter x Hunter.
My feelings on Hunter x Hunter have nothing to do with my problems with Hunter x Hunter is not the characters. My problem with Hunter x Hunter is entirely the magic system.
Which is weird because
You don't
it's
have
a good magic system.
Huh?
Which is weird because it's a good magic system. I'm not going to say it's amazing, but it's not bad.
I'm saying I have a bad reaction to the magic system because it's like touted, like the fans will not shut up about how it's the
Your
greatest
problem
magic
is not
system.
with the magic system, then it's with the fandom, which is
It
entirely
is with
different.
the fandom, but you have to understand that, like,
I hate
your
large parts
reaction
of the
to-
My Hero fandom. That doesn't mean I hate My Hero.
see, that's not the case for everyone. Sometimes the fandom does make you hate the property, even if it's not necessarily logical to do so.
But again, it's not the fucking... We're off topic, but it's not the media's fault at that point. It is the fandom's fault, and your criticism should be focused at the fandom, not the media in question. It's not like a series' fault if the fucking fandom... Not necessarily the media's fault if the fandom is fucking terrible. Not... There are some that, that go hand in hand. I will say that. Redo.
Oh boy, let's not get into that.
Shield Hero.
Thankfully, I don't think we have to get into those because those don't even have queer rep.
Redo does.
Does it? Oh God.
Yeah, it does have. Actually, yeah, if I recall correctly,
It
one
is
of the
a depraved
characters.
homosexual type, yeah.
Yes, it does. One of the I believe one of the characters in the original Hero Party is that.
Of course it does. Of course it does. Why does it have to be so
Look,
terrible?
Two of them. Two of them.
Oh,
It
fuck.
has both an evil lesbian and an evil gay man
Of
who are
course it
rapists.
does. Of course it does.
Yeah, it's awful.
This shouldn't surprise you.
It's not surprising.
I was hoping that it was just heterosexual terrible. It
Oh, it's
didn't have
also
to include
homophobic.
didn't have to include the queer community at all.
It's also the evil gay dude. I'm pretty sure is also a pedophile.
Of fucking course.
No, it's kind of like got the
Speaking of
whole.
We should probably
Yes.
dig into that. We should probably dig into that trope.
I mean, that was what I was getting at with Hisoka, is like he's much more like he explicitly, even when they're not fighting, he explicitly gets a hard on every time he meets the 12-year-olds.
Not great. Very much not great. Anyways,
On the
let's
topic,
talk about that trope
Yeah, on
that suggests that gay people are inherently pedophilic.
apparently fucking
I don't even know where that comes from.
it comes
It
from
comes from fear mongering by
yeah.
social conservatives
Comes
who
from,
try to
So it's where all of these tropes come from.
yeah.
basically, yeah.
It comes from bigots. Apparently Frank Herbert did it.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
I'm not
Vladimir
saying
Harkonnen.
I'm not saying he started it. I'm just saying he gave an apparently gave an example.
Yep, Baron Harkonnen, that asshole, aka the main villain of the first book.
Which, all things considered, like, I feel like that's probably misunderstood to a certain extent, because I'm pretty sure his point was that the dude was a monster.
Oh yeah, no, the dude was supposed to be an absolute monster, but I'm pretty sure he's also the only character who's interested in members of the same sex that we see in at least the first book.
Yeah, that is sadly not that surprising, considering the genre.
But yeah, also remember that fun little handful of shows by Doga Koba that were explicitly peddled as cute when they featured lesbian pedophiles. That's
Oh
fun.
yeah, it's the whole double standard thing, huh?
Yep. Yep.
God damn it, Doga Koba.
They've done some good stuff too, and it's just like, why? Why would they do this awful shit? Is it because they needed the money? There are better ways to make money.
There really are.
No, like that's kind of like, look, there's probably some Doga Kobo fans who would be upset by me saying this, but it's not that surprising. Doga Kobo kind of specializes in queerbait.
Trying to remember what else they've done besides.
They almost exclusively they do cute girls doing cute things, which often go hand in hand with queerbait.
There's a line there between queerbaiting and queer coding, and some cute girls doing cute things fall into the latter camp.
I find that with Doga Kobo's case, it tends to skew more in the bait direction.
On the subject of queer baiting and queer coding, we did do a podcast about that last year. Go and find it.
Yep.
After this stream. Keep watching this stream.
Yeah. I'm trying to look at what Tokoba has done. I'm pretty sure you or Yuri at least is serialized in the Yuri magazine. It's just lighter on it than more explicit.
No, I don't
stuff.
think. Yeah, Yuri is more in the coding direction, but like a lot of their
It's New Game. New Game is also coding.
New Game
No
is much
pun
more
intended.
borderline.
No, like in the author notes for the final volume, she explicitly says that two of the female characters got married after it was legalized in Japan. And before that, there was a lot of subtext between the two, apparently. But yeah, that's another thing entirely. with discussing the trope of the whole predatory gay character. With regard to Dogakoba, there are two shows that you should probably watch out for because they. Should I even mention them?
Yes, we kind of have to. There's the maid one and the teacher one.
Uzumade and Wataten, I believe. Teacher
Yes,
one. I
what?
thought what. No, Wataten does. I don't think she's a teacher. I think she's just the older sister of one of the girls,
Mm.
and the
No,
older lady turns on her
she's
sister's friends.
no, she's the classmate of the she's the classmate of the older sister. Or she's the
No,
classmate of the older brother, rather.
no, she's the older sister of one of the younger girls. They have the same last name and everything.
Huh.
I think you're getting it mixed up with something else.
Which,
There's a
is
lot
somewhat
of it.
concerning that there's enough of those that I can get mixed up.
Hmm. But yeah, uh, those are the ones that have the problematic trope from Dogakobo. That's always not fun.
Yeah, it's kind of just like people never seem to like. There's also a if we're talking about anime tropes specifically, there is almost always, especially in harem series, but in anything with an ensemble cast, really, there is the trope of the token lesbian.
Ah, that was just the one I was getting up on TV tropes.
Yeah, of the girl who is into other girls explicitly, but is just laughed off as comic relief. Always. It's like
Mm.
very irritating.
Interestingly enough, there aren't any anime and manga examples on TV tropes.
I think it's because it's
Well, this
so
is
like
it's. I think it's because like the page on TV tropes is they're a lot more specific in that it's like the single lesbian in a cast full of gay men
Ah,
rather than the token
yeah,
lesbian in a whole ensemble.
which is honestly more problematic if you think about it, right?
mm.
Like
Uh,
yeah, basically the idea is it's problematic on a number of levels. In no small part because the character in question is generally not even given any sort of importance. They're kind of just
mm-hmm.
like a nothing character who is
Mm.
like just laughed off
Not
at
necessarily left
best.
off, but like, not necessarily left off. Just like shows up for a few seconds and does nothing. AKA the Disney gay character. AKA Disney's first gay character. Times 1,000.
Yeah, how many first gay characters has Disney had by this point?
I think their first actual out and out gay character in a movie has finally. If you're talking strictly Disney, I don't know if that's happened yet, but for including the umbrella stuff, then there has been like a character whose sexuality who is like explicit and made a substantial part of their character in the Eternals. But that's the first one. That was last year.
Yeah, and I don't think Marvel really counts because like Marvel Comics has kind of had rep for a long time. I mean, the X-Men. I talked about the X-Men gay wedding earlier, but like that entire line of characters kind of exists for the purposes of rep.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's basically what they're about
Mm-hmm.
specifically.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure like the second run of X-Men was like a multinational team kind of set up, and it kind of just got more diverse from there. Yeah. No. You want to talk about some positive ones though,
Yeah,
because I
I
kind
feel
of
like
want.
we're gonna get exhausted otherwise.
You know what's speaking while we're on the topic of X-Men, there's the whole more diverse sequel thing where which goes beyond just sexuality, but it's like, hey, we're doing a sequel, like a generational sequel. Let's have all the kids of these characters, and oh, there's a wider variety of them. Some of them are people of color, some of them are LGBTQ plus, and I think that's neat. Just like taking the opportunity of having all these fresh characters and saying like, hey, let's let's do something with them and actually, add a little bit of diversity into the cast and characterize them nicely. It's nice when it's done well,
Hmm.
at the very least.
So, I mean, in general terms, the dues of queer rep is, and I was saying this to you before the stream started, Jack. I did actually talk about this with somebody on my master's course, but it's you know it's relatively simple. Of you know avoid certainly, yeah. In terms of writing queer characters yourself, avoid what you know to be offensive and harmful. And
Mm-hmm.
there's plenty of resources out
You
there for
should
that.
also avoid making that the only thing about that character, because that's just tokenism
Hmm.
at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, make them a character that
I had
just happens to be X minority, rather than
I
just
did
being
have
their
three
single dividing
things.
trait.
I did have three things, which is avoid what you know to be offensive and harmful. Listen to members of the communities you're trying to write about when they speak up about their experiences or particular portrayals, and above all else, treat them as a regular part of your setting.
Yep.
Um, I also specifically went into whether you can have a queer character as the villain or a victim, and again, it's very much the same.
You
Of
can, as long as that's like not the only example.
again, I
Mm-hmm.
said, are they are they the villain because they're queer, or are they a villain that happens to be queer? And are they the only queer character focused on in the narrative? And same with the victim.
Yeah, like if the villain's depravity is solely based on their sexuality, that's one thing. But they happen to be like, say, oh, this character is like a debauched hedonist who drinks and gluttonizes and does all sorts of other depraved things, like starves people for their own, so that they can have banquets every day.
Mm-hmm.
And they also happen to be like a sexual hedonist as well. That's one thing. Where it's like, oh, this character is evil solely because they're a
Evil.
homosexual rapist. That
Mm-hmm.
kind of difference.
Yeah. But it really is as simple as that, which is why it's so fucking frustrating that media still can't get it right.
It's because a lot of writers are just hacks who are very self-important.
Mm-hmm. And if we want to give good examples of rap, uh, hey Owl House,
Mm-hmm.
Though
probably
Owl House did suffer for its rep, sadly.
Yeah.
it most likely did at this point. Yeah, we don't.
There's also speaking of American animation, there's also She-Ra, which is a great example of what you said with making it part of the setting.
Mm,
Because like even as early as season 1, there's like a one of the supporting cast, two of the supporting cast are a lesbian couple. They get the spotlight later on, but they're like almost always there for most of the series. And
Yeah.
it's just like never commented on
Mm-hmm.
as being out of the ordinary. And also, one of the three main leads has two dads, and that's also never commented on as strange.
Yeah. And again, Owl House does a very good job of it as well, of just making it seem so normal.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, normalization is a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, one of my absolute favorite LGBTQ tropes is just the supernaturally affirmed gender identity,
Yeah.
which is just really fun, in my opinion, because it allows for some really fun and creative twists while also just
Yeah.
being
So one of
really.
the awkward things about that is that it does sadly suffer from tokenism in some situations.
In some situations, but at the same time, you get like
I
stuff
actually had a specific example in mind.
okay, go for it, and then I'll say my bit.
Stormlight.
Ah, yes. Yeah, that's a case of Brando Sando just not having written any trans characters in the setting yet,
He did
if he's
write
ever going
one,
to.
and it's a character who is, for all intents and purposes, completely irrelevant.
Who is it?
The king of the Reshi Isles.
Oh, huh. Oh, was that one of the novellas?
Dawn Shard.
I haven't finished Dawn Shard yet.
Not only Don Shard, I believe he did make an appearance in Rhythm of War, but very briefly.
I haven't.
So he's a minor.
I don't think I've read that one yet. To be fair.
I read Rhythm of War like 2 years ago when it came out. That was like a long time ago. But anyways, no, but at the same time you get stuff like, oh, I know your true name. It's my dead name. That's not going to work. Or something like, no man can kill me. Kills him anyways. Huh.
Yeah.
Well then.
Man, if only Death Note had had the balls to do that.
If only who had the balls to do that?
Death Note.
Yeah, that'd be great.
They have issues enough with misogyny without adding homophobia in there, or transphobia.
Death Note is just fucked up all around, honestly.
Interestingly enough, in terms of the supernaturally validated queerness, Dragon Age Inquisition has an example.
Oh yeah.
Because Cole instantly starts using masculine pronouns with Krem, who is a trans man. Called the spirit capable of reading minds.
Yep.
It's not even to the point of reading minds. Cole reads like your soul.
Mm-hmm. Ah, Cole. I wish I had more space in my party for him, because I do like him.
Yeah, I like Cole a lot.
It's
just I have Varric. Varric's a great rogue.
My rogue spots were generally taken by Varric and myself. I can't have 3 rogues. That's just bad party composition.
Unfortunately, Varric is a very good rogue.
I honestly wish there was room for more flexible party comps. It's a kind of one of the reasons it's great that on PC that's been modded in.
So what, you can have more people in your party than just the normal 3?
Or alternatively, you can just have stuff that replaces party members for the purposes of those party-specific actions.
Right.
Or the role-specific actions, rather. You have something to break down a door instead of requiring lockpick. Things like that. There's a lot of that sort of thing going around.
It is frustrating when you are locked out of especially lock picking when you're locked out of loot and other doors just because you don't have somebody good at lock picking.
Hmm. Anyways, back on track. Sandman has an interesting kind of subversion slash double subversion of this, where a trans woman is not allowed to join in on a magical ritual that's restricted to women. That's because of the deity in question that allows the ritual, just
Being
being
a dick.
very being bigoted and outdated. Unlike the Endless acknowledge her as a woman, like when said bigoted deity did not, which is pretty neat.
Something interesting
Yeah,
that the Dresden Files could do as well, considering the whole thing with names and the Fae.
Yeah, I don't know if that.
yeah. This is something I've noticed is like, and I sadly this is a oftentimes a necessary thing, but like a lot of like writers, whether it's because they're worried they can't do it well or for whatever reason, kind of just like avoid the subject entirely.
God, I wish they did that with romance.
Yeah,
Mm,
there's some writers who
That's
should
because that's the
probably
thing.
do that.
That's the thing. You know, there'll be some authors who go, "Oh, I don't want to, write this shit because I don't think I can do it well," and then write a fucking shitty heterosexual romance.
weak, absolute
Yeah,
weakness.
if you're gonna do it, then just like commit and have no romance whatsoever.
Yeah,
If you think you're bad at it, then just don't do it at all.
exactly what I'm
Yeah,
doing.
Oda's good at sticking with that.
Oda's
The
not
difference
that bad at
is that
writing romance. Is the thing.
Yeah, he
yeah,
doesn't like writing romance though,
Like,
which which means that his actual prowess at writing it when he wants to is surprising.
hmm,
yeah, he is far better at it than he has any right to be, honestly.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say he's
And then he,
perfect at it, because there are some, oh boy, well, anything to do with Sanji, really, but,
honestly, Sashi has good moments, and he has actually had good romantic uh plot stuff with a certain character, but like really, really wild that Oda managed to pull that off.
He did basically walk it back entirely, though, which is unfortunate.
Not entirely, just partially. But yeah, no, but another thing that I really like, another trope that I'm kind of a fan of is just like, what was the term for it? Shoot, I'm blanking. Damn it. You guys talk about something while I figure out what I was trying to say.
um, trying to think of other good tropes. I kind of only have the bad ones. I mean, just in general, we talked before about the normalization factor, but having, not just gay characters, but having, trans
Yeah,
characters,
kind of like a mix all around,
yeah,
yeah.
trans characters, non-binary characters, ace characters, like
I mean,
intersex
getting back
characters.
to One Piece, actually, One Piece actually has a lot more trans characters than most shonen series do.
Yeah.
Like Mr. Bon Clay, Ivankov, Inazuma,
Like the
and
thing that a lot of people misunderstand about the Okama is that at no point are they like represented negatively.
well, they hmm, the ones who interact
Well,
with Sanji are, but that's it.
That's more a Sanji problem than a Nokama problem.
Yeah, Sanji is kind of homophobic.
Kinda?
We're gonna have to cancel Sanji. I'm sorry, Sanji fans. We're gonna have to cancel him.
Sanji's been cancelled for a while.
I was gonna say, haven't we been doing that for a while?
We're gonna have to cancel him yet again because his homophobic tweets got discovered, and gonna have to cancel Sanji all over again. I'm sorry, guys.
I feel
It's
like
not even that his homophobic tweets were discovered. It's just that he wasn't very popular, so people didn't even realize he was making them.
Yeah, I feel like we've been canceling Sanji ever since Thriller Bark when he was like, "Oh, I really wanted the fucking invisibility fruit so I could peep."
And then
Yeah.
and then he actually got his dream of being able to peep, and that was not great.
Yeah, that was very uncomfortable.
At the very least, he got the shit beat out of him afterwards, but that's still not great.
And this isn't really specific. This is not particularly specific to queerness, but frankly, it happens more with heterosexual characters than anyone else. I feel like we should stop like saying, "Oh, well, they got punished immediately after, so it's fine."
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not
that
saying it's
really does
fine.
not fly.
I'm not saying it's fine. I'm saying that
I know. I'm just
the blow a little bit by making it sure that they suffer comeuppance.
I'm just saying it's something that happens all too often. Of just like, well, they got punished. They get punished for it, so it's fine, isn't it? No, they still did it.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm just less mad than I would be if he didn't get any comeuppance for it, you know?
Yeah, and the issue is that even though they get punished for it, they never fucking learn from it. Like, maybe it would be okay if they actually, took the punishment and went, you know what? Maybe I deserved that, and I'm not gonna do this shit again. But no, they never do. They're always like, it was fun anyway. As I said, certainly from my experience, it happens with the heterosexual characters a lot more, which makes the whole, queer characters are sex assaulters thing all the worse, really. But, I know, we want to try and make it as positive as possible, but there are still some, bad tropes that I wanted to mention.
It's because we're still, like, kind of in a place where it's not enough yet.
Yeah. And as I said, doing queer rep well is so simple, but it's just that people don't do it.
I do. There is one trope I do kind of like. That's just like the closet key trope, where a character's like interacts with the character's like, oh, I'm attracted to this person of the same sex. Oh, this explains so much. And just having that realization is often quite fun to see. You know?
Yeah.
It is quite good, yeah.
Especially when it's done well, when it's like a kind of a focal point. But it honestly can be used as kind of like a gag sometimes, but it works a lot better played more straight than not.
Mm-hmm.
You get my meaning?
Yeah.
Like being an actual plot point rather than a one-off gag. What was it? I'm trying to remember some examples. Oh, whatchamacallit? Other Side Picnic. Soro, basically realizes that she's into women like not long after interacting with Toriko.
I've heard good things about Other Side Picnic, though I haven't actually read it yet.
It's pretty good. We've watched Mill and I watched the anime when it was coming out. It's only part of only like covers the first couple novels, I think, and the animation is kind of hit or miss at points, but it's still pretty good.
If I'm gonna
would
do it,
recommend checking
I'm
out the
gonna read the
novel.
novels probably,
Yeah,
but
there's
like,
like 7 or 8 novels out in English, I believe.
yeah, it's kind of just like it's one of those series that I've heard very good things about, and I'm very eager to give it a shot.
It's definitely not a
That's
bad.
good.
It's definitely not a bad series. I mean,
Mhm.
my issues with it are more to do with the anime adaptation more than the
Yeah.
actual series itself. So I imagine it would be pretty good in the original novels.
hmm Yeah, I still have to read the original novels. I have so much to read. But there's a lot of examples of just like the character realizing like, oh, well then, this explains a lot about me. That
Mm.
kind of thing. And just like it's a fun trope when it's done well.
I do like the you know big gay realization moment when it's done
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
In
it's a fun one.
in which they realize, oh, I do in fact possess the big gay.
Like my favorite one, just because of how wonderfully it's done in the anime, is still used in Bloom Into You
Ah, yeah,
during the
that's a
sports
fun one.
festival, where it is just that realization of, oh, holy shit, I do actually have feelings for her. Oh no.
She was not prepared.
She was not prepared at all. Um,
It's kind of like a similar trope of can't catch me feelings and then gets beaten by their feelings.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean the bad. It's not necessarily a bad trope, depending on when it happens. But
Yeah.
word of gay.
Mm,
Yes, that is one of the most egregious ones, and this is like kind of it's the Disney and to some extent Sanderson and like a lot of people do in fact have this problem is the whole thing where yes, they are technically we have representation, but they never show up on screen.
Yeah. Okay. So as I said, I think it's okay if it happens. Say during a TV show between seasons, and then in the following seasons, it is actually properly shown, or
hmm
between books, and then it's shown later on. As long as it is shown later on, it's fine if you confirm it beforehand. It's when you confirm it and then it's never shown.
I also think it's okay if it's like there is some degree of ambiguity or it's like very strongly subtextually implied but never outright confirmed and then they confirm it afterwards. Like it is the case with Korra and Asami in Legend of Korra.
Yes, I think
Like,
I think that's an okay example of it. If only because they would have shown it if it
censorship.
wasn't for the fucking censorship.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was an entirely a screwed by the network sort of scenario.
yeah.
And the sequel graphic novel does just outright confirm it by having them kiss, so.
Same with Gravity Falls when Alex Hirsch confirmed that Dylan and Blubs are a gay couple, but wasn't allowed to show it on screen. Speaking of Gravity Falls, he
Oh,
recently.
you saw that thing, didn't you?
I was the one who posted it in our server, but he posted
Yeah.
a video of basically complaints he got from Disney's standards and practices, like their censorship department, and one of them
Yeah.
was about Blubs and Derland, basically saying, "Oh, they can't have their arms around each other people might start to talk about, the nature of their relationship. And Hirsch was just like, they're just friends. It's fine. And
Honestly,
Yes,
my
they're
favorite
just
one of those was
very good friends.
one of my favorite ones of those was it's not related to queerness anyway, but uh, him being forced to change the posters for Tambry's party,
mm,
and him being like, "Can I say that they are not SNP approved?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "I don't see what. So what's the issue with it? You can put it on there." And so Tambry's flyers actually say not SNP approved on them.
but the stupid thing was, like, the what they called it up on first was that, like, spin the bottle would be happening, which is like just so. It's like such a typical teenage party thing, and they're like, "No, we can't have
Yeah,
that. Can't have that."
yeah.
Like, all of them were fucking dumb. All of them were fucking dumb.
Oh, uniformly.
Like, apparently Mabel wasn't allowed to say butt face, I think. Something like that.
Yeah, it's real stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that Disney censorship though.
I'm glad that they're starting to let up. I really wish that Owl House didn't have to suffer because
Well,
of
they're starting
their
to let
failures.
up on the surface,
Mm.
but I'm pretty sure behind the scenes it's still not great.
Mm.
We just need to keep shaming them whenever they pull bullshit. That's worked so far. So
Yeah. But in terms of egregious examples of this,
you're gonna have to say Harry Potter, man.
I was gonna say Harry Potter. I was hoping to be able
Yep.
to get out of it because, I just hate talking about Harry Potter now. It's not a good
I don't
series.
blame.
And
I don't blame
frankly,
you.
there's so much shit surrounding Rowling and her fucking bigotry. And it is outright bigotry. It's not just turfiness now. It is just plain bigotry.
Well, not like there's the anti-Semitism. There's the transphobia. I'm pretty sure there's some homophobia in there. Some other straight up racism. What else
Just
is there?
racist stereotypes is a pretty big one.
Yeah, we're not really should not like. Are we gonna talk about
Oh, and
the
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 slavery.
whole goblins thing, especially in the like they legitimately made the bad guys
In the video
a
game, yeah.
in the video game a repressed minority who want equal rights. They don't
Yeah.
even want an uprising. They
Yeah.
just want equal rights.
And look, that could be okay as long as you show that, uh that the ones doing this are doing it, violently and are attacking, the people who do want equal rights for goblins, and that there are, goblins who, while still want equal rights, aren't willing to be as, morally questionable about it. But no, they're just having like, no, all goblins are in on this. They're evil fuckers. Gotta kill them all.
Mm.
Gotta kill them all.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, even if it is completely true that J.K. Rowling gets no money from this, which is incredibly doubtful, yeah, don't fucking
Mm-hmm.
buy this game. Don't buy this game. But yeah, the anyone who says the goblins are not goblins in Harry Potter are not problematic are fooling themselves massively, or are bigots themselves anyway.
Mm.
Um, I mean, can you guys think of any other particularly egregious examples?
I mean, I've already mentioned Sanderson. The
Yeah,
whole
Yeah.
it like the characters who are rep are either incidental or not really given much screen time. Like there's one gay member of Bridge 4, but like
Well,
he's
there is
not one of them.
Renarin, but Renarin is a different thing entirely.
Renarin is so many bad stereotypes put together. Do not get me started on Renarin because there's some very major issues there.
Hmm. Yeah, I know you have a whole rant prepared for when we talk about him when we do Oathbringer or Rhythm of War. I forget which one.
Both is good.
Okay. Um.
But yeah, in terms of Sanderson, Shallan is also apparently bi, but certainly I don't remember there being any sort of hints of that in the
No,
book.
he said when a character read her when he received a tweet that from a person who said they always read Shallan as bi, and his response was, "You can think of that. You can think of it that way if you want." Is very much a non-response.
Hmm.
He didn't confirm or deny it. He just said, "Well, if that's your headcanon, feel free."
Mm-hmm.
The implication suggested otherwise. Basically, he was like, "Well, that's not canon, but you're free to think of it like that."
I mean, to be fair, Shallan does have some suspect interactions with Yasna.
Yeah, that's what it was. Apparently, that was not completely unintentional on his part because he no, that was specifically the thing that was being referenced by
Mm.
the person who sent the tweet, and they were like, "Oh, that never occurred to me."
I thought he had a sure, let's go with that kind of thing where he's like, oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that makes sense. Sure, she's
No,
bi.
he was like, no. He explicitly did not do that. He was like, "Oh, that's not what I was thinking of when I wrote those scenes, but sure, you can think of it." Like he never confirmed one way or the other.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I haven't seen the actual I haven't seen the actual Word of God thing, so.
Hmm.
But Well, the whole Word of Gay thing, there is also the subset of confirming a character's specific sexuality after they're already demonstrated to be queer
Yes.
of some kind. It's like, oh, this character is specifically gay, bi, pan, or whatnot.
Hmm.
For example, what was it? Luz and Amity from the Owl House were stated by Dana to be respectively bisexual and lesbian.
Hmm.
Uh, by uh, by Dana Terrace, the creator, because well, they're both clearly sapphic. The question was what their specific orientations were, and Dana Terrace was just like, oh yeah, Luz is bi and Amity is lesbian.
Hmm.
There's also Nico D'Angelo from the Camp Half Blood series is also Rick Riordan said, "Oh yeah, he is attracted to men exclusively. He is gay, not bi or anything like that. He's gay."
God, I really hope that series, that the Disney series goes well, and maybe we can replace Harry Potter with Percy Jackson.
I
It's what
already did that in
people
my
have been
year.
hoping for a while.
I doubt it'll happen, but I want to
Yeah, I
believe.
it's
Honestly,
still
oh,
very, very confusing to me. What exactly, what eldritch deity did Rowling make a deal with? Because in hindsight, Harry Potter really does not have any right to be as popular as it is.
Yeah, it really doesn't.
I think it's a matter of a combination of timing and just right.
Sheer
It's probably
luck.
right place, time, and just
Sheer luck.
appealing to the right demographic.
It's sheer dumb luck, yes, is what Mel said.
Yeah.
Because it just it's not even that that was the only example of that at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
It just
Just
happened to hit just right enough to get to get popular.
yeah, it basically just won the lottery. Is as simple as that.
Effectively, yeah.
Let's have a look through the live action list just to see if there's any
I mean, I
interesting
think we
ones.
should probably talk about some positive ones, because even when we tried to talk about positive ones, we did end up like it's very easy to be angry at these things because for obvious. I don't think I have to really explain why we're angry at this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like self-evident.
Oh well, one thing with the word "gay" thing that I find really fascinating is when a when an actor or a director says something along the lines of, "Oh yeah, I basically portrayed or directed this character uh, to be gay, but for some for whatever reason I wasn't allowed to make this textual, so I was just like, okay, I'm gonna make this character as gay as possible without being explicit about it."
Y'all feel like that's possibly how Oscar Isaac was approaching the Poe Dameron situation with Finn?
I would not be remotely surprised.
Because Oscar
100%.
Isaac is definitely the type to do that.
Yeah.
He's great.
I love
And
Oscar Isaac. Does he?
yeah, it just definitely strikes me as it's one of those things where he would have 100% been up for straight up making Poe Dameron gay, but like I don't think Disney would have ever done it. Like
No.
they're like, how dare you even think about making our new Han Solo gay?
Mm. Yeah, no. It's always a favorite thing of mine when actors go like, "Yeah, I'm gonna just make this character sound slash act slash what have you as flagrantly gay as possible without making it textual, just because this character should be this character should be queer,
It's
but
like it's really telling to a certain extent that even when we're talking about things we like, we end up talking about how the actors get around their constraints as opposed to like talking about the source material being in any way good, like inherently. It's kind of sad.
mm. I mean, on the other hand, sometimes you have to get like word of God confirmation because you have like a slow burn romance thing going on, and you can't really have them get together too quickly, otherwise it kind of spoils the slow burn. Like I know that's the case with Vi and Caitlyn in Arcane because they haven't interacted long enough for them to be like in a full on relationship by this point.
Mm-hmm.
That's also the case with Blake and Yang and Ruby as well, in my knowledge.
I get the Ryan Caitlyn thing. Blake and Yang have like in universe known each other for years by this point. I feel like
Oh no, it's like at this point it's only a matter. It's not a matter of if, but when it's going to happen. Because
you say that, but didn't the most recent season finale have a very yikes moment with regards to that?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Hang on, I'm gonna to avoid spoiling. Send you a DM.
Just DM me real quick about it. But no,
Yeah.
the subtext between the two has been going on for years, and it's kind of a meme in the whole fandom of when they kiss, the whole fandom is going to explode, and that corner of the internet is going to be insufferable for weeks on end. All right, let's see what. No, that's not what happened.
It was a fake out then.
Kind of. It's kind of ambiguous what exactly happened to Yang and the rest of Team Ruby, but they didn't die so much as get sent to another realm of sorts.
Ah, they got sent to the Shadow Realm. Gotcha.
Not quite the Shadow Realm. Not quite clear what.
Y'all remember the early Dragon Ball Z dubs where they're like, "I'll send you to another dimension."
I was thinking of Yu-Gi-Oh's actual Shadow Realm, but yeah, I
No,
remember.
like, but yeah, a lot of the younger kids probably don't know this, but there was in fact a time in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh where they were like or in the history of Dragon Ball, sorry, before there was a good dub, when they were well, it was a good dub. It was just not like it was a heavily censored dub, but like instead of saying making references to death, they would just always say, "I will send you to another dimension."
That's
And
whack,
it's just
yo.
it's like that's a very specific way of handling that, huh?
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even the later Dragon Ball dubs had Hiffle.
Really, I thought they just changed
Careful.
it to hell later on.
They probably did change it later on. Now, I'm willing to bet they probably did for Kai, but I'm fairly sure, Funimation's, OG DBZ dub still had Hiffle.
I feel like that's more like at that point it's more funny than anything else.
Honestly,
People just rolls off the tongue better, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a fun name for hell, Home for Infinite Losers.
I am glad that TFS is making a whole ass.
I also
Great.
like that, one of the things Super did well that is very good, even though it wasn't very long term. I do like the fact that they explicitly showed that hell isn't just like fire and brimstone hell. It is like personally tailored super torture,
Mm-hmm.
like with Frieza.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all remember what Frieza's? Anyway, do we want to talk about Dragon Ball?
What is
Is
there
there?
to specifically talk about with Dragon Ball?
Ah, I feel like Dragon Ball is one of those series that kind of, in the shonen, started the shonen tradition of just so much subtext.
Yes. The
Right?
whole homoerotic rivalry thing.
Yeah, that's kind of a trope. I don't know. I honestly don't know if we classify that as a do or a don't.
Yes.
Right? Because, like,
Mm,
it's definitely got some problematic elements, right? Because, like, the problem with that trope is that even when there's chemistry, it's never resolved.
yes.
So you can kind of consider that like bait to a large extent,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
Like, look at the go look up the punch scene during Frieza's temporary resurrection, and
I
don't
know
tell
that
me
scene.
don't tell me you don't see it.
Oh, there's definitely subtext there.
They're absolutely giving each other the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Goku is pretty fight sexual, so I'm not remotely surprised.
Yeah, it's kind of just like, you know what's interesting? Oda also did, or Oda, God forbid, Toriyama also kind of started the train of, hey, there's all that like subtext, and then there's a main character who is very very clearly like Ace, and then let's just marry him off,
Mm.
right? Like that's also kind of a problematic thing that a lot of series do.
Mm-hmm.
The whole
I honestly,
it's something Star Wars did as well recently. It's the whole straight in the epilogue thing.
Yeah.
which one did that again?
Poe.
Oh yeah, no.
He just
You
like
know that the entirety of Rise of
mm,
Skywalker was just like struggling
mm,
to retcon every last
mm,
bit
mm.
of Last Jedi.
Yeah, and and basically it's things like that that Dragon Ball doesn't really have any of these issues or positives fully formed. But again, that's because it's kind of the Seinfeld effect, isn't it?
I mean,
Because
the
Dragon Ball
only
got the ball rolling on so many of these things.
The only examples of rep we have in Dragon Ball are a couple of side characters who are lesbians in Super, and General Blue, who is implied to be a pedophile.
Ah, the
Let's not talk
80s.
about let's not talk about kale and cauliflower.
No, I'm not talking about Kale and Caulifla. I'm talking about those two characters from Universe 2, who are
Hey, that's
much
canon.
less relevant. Yeah, they're canon. They are holding hands with their foreheads against each other with hearts in the background.
Yeah, no. That's
And
about as
yet,
canon as Toriyama is capable of getting, I think.
anime will still say they're straight.
Those
Uh,
anime are dumb.
yeah, so, but no, like, kale and cauliflower are a very frustrating example where it's entirely accidental bait.
Mm.
It's very
Yeah.
much bait because it's never going to be resolved, but, like, no one is going to look at those two and be like, oh, they're good friends.
Yeah.
There is a lot of homoerotic subtext there, yeah.
There's also an uncomfortable amount of subtext between their fusion and Goku, which we're not really. I don't feel comfortable discussing because I don't think that's a discussion the world is ready to have.
Again, Goku is fight sexual. If someone can get a good fight, he's going to have like this reaction of like that's very similar to flirting.
It's he's like totally turned on. Like I don't think anyone is going to dispute that.
I'm not going to dispute that because you're not entirely wrong there.
Again, we basically have to accept the fact that probably Gohan and Goten happened because Goku was like in a food coma or something, and or sleeping, or he was just like he had no idea what was going on. All of these interpretations are very uncomfortable. But yeah, I think like there's something to be said there because like if you think about it, Dragon Ball did start a lot of problematic trends in the shonen genre.
I think we're getting a little bit off track.
With regards to the rep, right?
Yeah.
I mean, with a lot of them, Dragon Ball was not the first to do them. In general, it might have been the first to do it in the shonen manga genre, but it wasn't the first to do them in general.
Not the first, but the most mainstream. Right? Oftentimes, when you're looking at like trope codifiers, trope codifiers are often not the first example of a trope. They're more often than not the most popular example of a trope.
Mm-hmm.
Which, yeah, we can like shonen as a genre has problems with this regard, especially if it's in Shonen Jump.
Yeah, they really do.
We can talk about some good stuff, like.
And I'm just
definitely.
I'm just trying to think of has there actually ever been a gay character in a Shonen Jump manga?
Not one that's like a major character on like on Team Good
Usually
Guy.
it's a villain, sadly.
Usually
there
it's either
have
a villain
been,
or a one-off
but they're horrifically monstrous, usually.
There's also like a few one-off characters here and there, or minor characters that aren't villains, but they're minor characters.
Or, they're played in the Persona 5 fashion of an extremely harmful stereotype.
Oh, a trope I really do like is the, I don't know if there's a name for it, but just like the fantastical setting of all sexualities welcome, basically. In a nutshell, where it's like they demonstrate that this society is different from the standard by showing like, oh hey, they accept people of every race, sexuality, and gender. No discrimination here, folks.
Oh, if only that were more common.
Fantasy. Yeah.
If only that were a thing in real life.
Yeah, exactly.
There's actually there is an interesting a meta trope that I don't know. It's probably not as publicized, but I definitely know it happens. And this is where a character. This is referring to writers who start writing and then, in hindsight, realize that their character is very heavily coded in a direction, and then that in turn makes them have realizations about the character and change the narrative accordingly. I can't think of any specific examples off the top of my head because it was actually the example I'm thinking of was a friend of mine who was a writer, but like I'm sure it has happened where the writer is just kind of realizes that they've coded a character so much in a certain direction that they decide to just make it textual as opposed to subtext.
And especially kind of like a Word of God, well, not a Word of God, but like a writer version of, sure, let's do that. Let's go with that.
No, I am not talking about the ones that are in with regard to fan response. I'm talking about the ones where the writer themselves comes to the conclusion.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never heard of that, really. I mean, it's
I'm
not
sure
really
it happens.
It's not something
I'm
you
sure
know
it
about
happens.
without, like, Word of God on it.
Yeah, no, I think there's probably a few Word of Gods out there that do suggest that. It's just like probably you'd have to like go digging to find the specific examples because it's something that you wouldn't really know because it involves like the draft process.
Mm-hmm.
But I am 100% sure it happens, right? Because characters change during the drafting process all the time.
Oh, yeah, no, I can speak to
And
that
I feel
myself.
like this is one of those changes that most more reasonable authors are becoming more and more willing to make.
Uh-huh.
It's like
I've done that.
Yeah, I definitely think there's something to be said there for like authors who during the drafting process kind of change up the character's orientation or identity in a positive direction.
Yeah.
So when it comes to character changes, how do y'all feel about retcons to existing characters?
Because of the retcon.
One way or another.
Well, it's so in terms of the making a believed to be straight character queer, that is sort of what we discussed with the with Word of Gay. If it's the other way around,
Well, I'm talking about when it happens in text.
Oh, and it happens in text when a character just comes out.
No. Let me give you an example. There was an entire the internet was set on fire regarding Superman recently.
Oh, so you mean
when an established character is retconned somehow, one way or another?
Oh, you mean John Kent being
Yes. Well, not necessarily. There's examples of that otherwise. Like, comic books, unfortunately, does have, because it's writer specific, it does have examples where gay characters are, magically retconned to be straight.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly.
Yeah, that's dumb.
It's like where they were like, oh, I was under mind control, or it was like, they've come up with all sorts of god-awful excuses.
I mean, there is a whole character sexuality changing from one medium to another as well.
Right? Yeah. Which again, often for the better, but a lot of the times it's not.
I mean, I don't mind the retcon as long as it's meant to be in a positive sense. I mean, the stuff about John Kent and who was the other one? It was
Tim Drake.
Tim Drake.
I think Tim
The
Drake
third Robin.
is. Yeah, I think Tim Drake is the one that probably caused more of the bigots to come out of the weeds, because Tim Drake is a much older character, like in real life terms.
Yeah.
Like Tim Drake's been around for like decades. John Kent is relatively new.
Yeah, Tim Drake has been around since the 80s. I recall correctly.
Which is now 40 years.
Yes. Oh
I'm hearing
God, the
it.
80s were. Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, 20 years ago. No, no, the
That's
80s were
exactly what
not
I was
20
earlier.
years ago. But yeah, it's kind of like, again, it's one of those things that, depending on how the authors handle it, is either a good thing or a very, very bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
This has sadly been done to a lot of in comic books. A lot of lesbians were just retconned into just being straight. Sadly,
I have seen the inverse a lot more in comics, but yeah, that's still fucked.
So, I mean, and that does bring up a good point, is when, this shit is done purely for titillation's sake. And it's especially common with lesbian encounters, let's say.
The classic lesbian sweeps with weak kiss.
I mean, the specific trope is, girl on girl is hot.
Yeah, no, I know.
that's like anytime you're fetishizing it is like,
Fetishizing.
I don't think.
Avoid fetishizing. That's something to be said.
Really, it really should not be something that needs to be specified. But sadly,
Yeah.
it does. Yeah, that's something that comes up depressingly often. Do we fetishize the LGBT plus community, please? Or at least, like, not unreasonably so. Like, don't. Like, you know what I mean, right?
Look,
like,
you can have your porn and stuff, just don't drag it into like common media.
no, it's not even that. It's like, you can have characters be hot, but don't make the character's entire purpose to be fetish fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right? Because like you're never gonna separate media from horniness.
Oh, of course not.
That's just not possible.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
I've seen many dungeons. How many dungeons?
yeah, you're never gonna like, the power of horniness is one of if not the strongest driving forces of humanity. So you're never gonna get rid of that.
Of innovation.
Yes,
like legit.
You're never gonna get rid of that. But like, when you put in a character whose entire purpose of existence is to be a fetishistically attractive member of the LGBT plus community, no.
Look,
Don't do that.
fine if you want to. It's fine if you want to make an LGBT character really attractive. It's nothing entirely if they're attractive solely dependent on people who find their queerness hot.
Yeah,
That's
essentially, it's like objectification is a problem across the board, but it is something that shows up very often regarding minorities. I mean, yes, women and minorities do suffer. Shocking, I know.
Especially female women of color. Like, there's just so much fetishization, especially of Asian and Hispanic women.
Yeah, women of color, trans women get like fetishized depressingly often, and it's often like in the context of assault as well. So,
oh boy. Oh yeah, yeah. No, that's not fun.
Look, basically, I think we should probably get ready to wrap up soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think I think that I can sort of sum up our podcast today in with regard to on a more meta level, right? I'm sure people have noticed we've been much more negative than positive in this episode, and I think on a meta level, the reason that is that while advances have been made,
There's a lot
and
of work still to be done.
there's a lot of work to be done. Yes, advances have been made, people are getting better about it, and progress is being made, positive representation is there, but it's just centuries of ingrained systemic bigotry
Yeah.
is going to take a lot of time to sort through, and it's just not there yet.
Yeah.
And we don't want to like be doomers about it, right? We don't want to be not completely like nihilistic, like as if like it's not gonna improve. It is improving.
It has been
That much-
improving for several years now.
I mean, yes, just the fact that this representation exists at all is something that would not have existed years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I've heard this said before, but I'll say it here. Steven Universe walked so that no, not Steven Universe. Yeah,
No,
Steven Universe
Cora.
walked.
Cora
Cora walked so Steven Universe could run, so She-Ra could sprint.
And so Owl House could run the marathon.
Yep.
but then also get shot
Yeah.
at the finish line.
Get kneecapped just before the finish line, yeah.
With Disney.
But I think the other thing is that, you know, we've been talking about, you know, specific tropes a lot, but and the issue is that yes, there just aren't that many tropes that are done positively. There are definitely some, but at the end of the day, as we've said, you know, a few times during the stream, it's honestly quite easy to do decent queer rap, and which is why it's so frustrating that it isn't done more often.
Yeah, it's basically like it's not hard, right? Like there's people who are good at character writing, and it's not hard for them to just like include being a member of the LGBT plus community as an additional facet of their character.
Look, on the one hand, it's never great to just like write a character as one thing and then just slap on a minority trait onto them. But at the same time, like just write a character and make them a member of a minority is not too difficult.
It's not difficult, and it's not even like universally a bad thing. Like, yes, it can be executed very poorly, right? I'm not disputing that.
Oh, by the way, I'm X, Y, or Z minority. Like that lazy tokenism.
Yeah, that is not good. But like that is far from
also,
being.
Yeah, you can also just have really well written characters, and they just happen to be of a minority. It's like, oh wow, dang, this person actually knows how to write this.
Yeah,
Well,
they
just wrote character.
That's something that I think Stars Align did so fucking well.
I don't talk about Stars Align. It's just gonna make me sad.
I know it's making me sad as well, but I have to talk about it because it had you like be revealed as gay.
I was in
like,
that show.
No,
because you said it had you.
Yeah, I know.
And I was like, yes, okay. It was right there.
It had. Now I don't want to say it now because you're gonna make the same joke.
No, I tend to stick with one joke per round.
Because it reveals you to be gay in like the first or second episode. And then it's just basically like, okay, cool. He's gay. That's about it. He has a crush on one of the main characters, but it very rarely comes up. Like, it's it's just a part of who they are. And I say they
You know what
because
the
they are also revealed to be non-binary later in the show.
You know what would be really funny
Hmm.
as just a way to show a character is gay? Have them make a really dumb dad joke to just like illustrate it. Like a character's like, I am I am honored to meet you. Hi honored, I'm gay. Just like a
That
really
is,
corny dad
yes,
joke.
that is. It's the reverse of the supportive dad joke.
Exactly. But it would just be like you could do that kind of thing to establish a character as a minority. It's a way that gives them personality while also showing like, hey, this person is queer, and that's a funny way to do it. I think, in my opinion, I don't know if it's actually funny or not because my sense of humor is subjective.
Hmm.
But like, you can do a lot of different things to just introduce a queer character beyond like just like, oh, by the way, this character is gay. Okay, thanks, bye.
Hmm.
And you don't have to necessarily build it into their character as like their soul defining or major defining thing. You can just have it. So I'm gonna use a metaphor that I really like to use that I haven't really used on the podcast before. But a personality is like a gemstone. There are tons of different facets out there, and you can looking at it from any one angle, you only see so many facets of their personality. And while a person's race, their gender, their sexual orientation are some of the bigger facets, they are still only facets. And they're not the whole of the gem.
Hmm.
So that's probably the best approach to take when writing a minority character is just like write them as a multifaceted person and just try not to let one facet overwhelm all the others.
Yeah.
And also, sometimes those gemstones do war crimes and get away with it, but we don't talk about those.
God damn it.
Look, you walked right into that one.
No, I didn't. I was trying to set up a nice metaphor and you ruined it. You ruined everything. I'm leaving now.
And on that lovely, potentially friendship ruining note, thank you everyone for joining us today for our Saturday night paradox hour. Well, Saturday morning for Mel, but you know.
Sunday
Sunday
morning, you
morning for
mean?
Mel. Time zones are funny.
Yeah, I hate them. I hate them so much. You should all just be on British time, damn it.
Yeah, but that would be like
Your
6
empire
a.m.
tried that. Your empire tried that, and it didn't work so well.
Yeah, the sun never sets, right? Oh wait, it fucking does.
So anyway, we'll bash Mill for being British later. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining us in our. Hopefully, we ended on a positive note.
Yeah, I feel like
Uh,
the humor in his tweet was positive, right?
yeah, and I think we should. I think we should all just acknowledge. Yes, is there a long way to go? Yes, but we're getting there. We've
Yeah.
started the journey, which is more than you can say for a few years ago.
Even if we're
To,
only moving at one step at a time, we are still moving forward.
to quote, to use a favorite quote of mine, the most important step isn't the first one; it's the next step.
Look, we. Yes,
Look,
okay.
Dalinar is great. Okay, I'm not
Dalinar is
gonna.
great. Yeah, I'm not gonna blame Sanderson's problems on Dalinar.
But anyways, thank you all for watching, and we hope to see you on our next podcast. Tomorrow we are doing more D&D where we're doing jail time. Woot woot.
You're
Tuesday,
still in prison.
we just got in prison last time.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's an
wonderful.
extended imprisonment sequence.
Have
What are we
you?
doing on Tuesday, Mill?
No fucking clue. Maybe Persona 4
fun.
Golden, maybe Road 96, maybe something different entirely. I have no fucking clue. I know I'm
Tuesday,
gonna do that.
look, don't ask what we're doing for Tuesday because no one knows the answer, especially us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know because I don't know what other people are available or willing to do. Uh, Thursday, I think we said we're gonna try and finish off the Devil Fruits tier list.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we're gonna get there eventually, people.
And then
But we do have to like discuss the character who's made of rubber and how that happened.
And then if we have enough time after that, we might do some sort of fight tier list, either One Piece fights specifically, or if we do have enough time, shonen fights in general.
We're probably not gonna have time for shonen fights, but One Piece fights is definitely viable.
Yeah, I want to do the shonen fights one. Damn it.
We'll get
We'll
to
have
it
to
eventually.
probably have to devote a stream to that separately.
Yeah. But yeah, and then next Saturday, I get the night off.
Yeah.
It's
Next
been
Saturday, we will be doing a discussion of a sampling of Yuri manga.
it's been so long
It will
since
be
I've
me
gotten a day
and
off.
Lore doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mill will get to take the night off for once, because he is the workhorse of this channel, let's be real. He does a lot. And he deserves a break.
Period every stream, and I do all the archives.
Yeah, Mill, you deserve a break, dude.
Thank you.
We're giving you a break.
Yay. So
But
nice
yeah,
when I get
that's
the
our
day
schedule
off.
for
But yeah, that's everything we're doing next week. I will try and have a definitive answer for Tuesday by the end of the D&D stream tomorrow. Fuzzy, if Gen is willing, would you be up for doing Road 96 again?
I'm usually up now. My schedule has stabilized a little bit, so Tuesdays should be more or less viable for me as long as it doesn't run too late my time.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so if Gen is willing, which I will ask him about before D&D tomorrow, we'll do Road 96. If not, probably Persona 4 Golden. Just because I do want to get back to that. I don't want to leave it hanging. I want to finish that. Nothing else, so I can say I ignored Yosuke for the entire game once he started being homophobic. He's staying at rank 2, I don't care.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying it's funny.
It is.
Honestly, it's like even that's just another place where Persona 5 is better.
Ryuji's great. I like Ryuji.
Well, let's not go that far.
Don't be mean to Ryuji. He's been through a lot.
But yes, anyway, thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Later.